Yes.
I have follow-up questions from the
Sure,
morning.
sure.
Um, like for example, when I was talking about myself, and then there was this discussion that the reason why you would apprehend or you would feel anxious about somebody else getting in your family is more about the inconvenience it will cause you. And I was just thinking that is it ever possible to genuinely love someone else? Because are we always then evaluating what is in it for me or
That seems to be the general material condition, that one is evaluating what is in it for me, and in some way or the other that is impacting what you do. Even at the highest level of thinking that I love this person or I have some special relationship, it is always about what that is giving to you, is it not? In the scriptures it says there is no such thing as love in the material world. The only true form of love, or prem, the word prem is only applicable to the divine. Because no matter you get something or you don't get something, but initially you are looking for some benefit. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita quite clearly that 4 types of people are looking for me: Artharthi, Jnani, Jigyansu. So you are motivated. But he says, fine, that's okay. So when you are motivated in terms of your relationships with people, it is because they are giving you a support system, and you may have a sense of gratitude or thankfulness. They're 2 slightly different things. Gratitude is what you, there is no equivalency in terms of equality of relationship in the state of gratitude, because gratitude means that you are doing something for me which I can't repay. When you express your thanks, it's an equivalency that now this transaction is complete, there's nothing due, nothing I have to give you, but I appreciate what you've done. So that's more of an equivalency transaction interpersonally, whereas gratitude means that there's no way I can repay this. I mean, it is but I am not indebted to you. We don't want to use the word indebted. So the Sanskrit word or the Hindi word for that is kritagya. So which is what you have in your attitude of gratitude. I am grateful, I am kritagya. I am not abhari. Abhari means I have the burden of your debt. You understand? So if you are in a relationship where there is an abhar, there's a burden of debt, then you should need to discharge it. And you may like to think that I love this person and I have to pay him back something. That is the motivation, that you have to be in a positive state of mind while you're paying off your debt. And after you pay off your debt, that may change. Sometimes you suddenly discover, oh, I did all this. What nonsense. This person's so bad. So you will change your attitude and moods from time to time. But the understanding is that, yes, we are all looking for something to help us, to support us, whatever activity we may be doing. And that's okay, as long as you recognize it and you have respect for it. Respect means, again, give something or someone a position of superiority, or look at it as a higher authority or a higher position than where you are. So these are interpersonal, transactional situations where you are relationship-wise. Why so much thinking is there for it?
because I feel that in bits and pieces, like with people, it comes back to me. Like, when I'm sending healing things, but there are moments in which I feel entitled to a certain kind of treatment or behavior, because either in my head I feel that, if I was in the place of the other person, I would have done it. Or I feel that, no, I have given more importance to this person, so why should I not get it back? So it has been in moments, and I can recognize it as a feeling coming from ego, but it comes in bits and pieces.
Yeah, so this is coming from, again, maintaining a kind of an account of what I am doing for the person and what they have done for me. So again, this is a transactional situation. I have done something for you, you do something for me. So it's business. So it's not love, it's business. Keep that in mind. There's nothing right or wrong about it, but then you see where it's going to end up. What will end up happening is that you think that I have done more, then you start doing less. The other person feels that what he was getting is less, so then he will also reciprocate less. Then you see that and then you reciprocate less. So then it's a diminishing on both sides. So that is an ending of the relationship. Because once you start this, that I'm doing too much, okay, so you withdraw, so then you understand. That is why you need to be balanced. Neither do too much nor do too little. Do what you have to do what you need to do what is your duty or obligation. Duties and obligation means debt, my karmic debt. My obligation, it means I'm obliged to do it, I have to do it, it is something I need to do, and something I have to do are two different things. I have to do it because it is an obligation, which means it's a debt. I have to pay it off. I need to do this maybe for other reasons. I need to do this, maybe I want to do this. I am inspired to do this, or I am very excited to do it. This is something I want personally. So there are different ways that you will get inspired to do things. You need to understand what is motivating you at any point in time. So you have to be pretty focused. I'm going for this, why? If you are in a relationship, let's say a marriage, I have this discussion a lot with young people. And they tell me, the only reason that we have to get married is if we want to have children. Because other than that, everything else that's available in marriage is available without marriage, plus it's less hassles. So they don't understand that if they're doing that, then it is actually promoting a very great lack of commitment to anything. From their viewpoint, they're young people, they're saying, okay, we can do all this, yes. But then they end up having very poor relationships. And ultimately, your karma is coming through relationships only. Good and bad, both. The deliverers of your karma are mostly through people. Some of it is through your body, some of it is through other bodies and other events. There are three types. One is coming from natural causes. Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adhyatmik. So the Adhyatmik is what is coming from your body, and Adi Bhautik is coming from other bodies, and the Adi Devik is coming from what you call acts of God. Natural disasters, something happened, accident, and even there the person is involved. And then there are other living entities like viruses and mosquitoes and dogs and cats, animals who will injure you or things like that. And then the rest is your mind and body. So mind and body is troubling us a lot. So today's class in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 12, we were studying as to what are the qualifications and it's a very simple matter. You're already there, you just need to focus on a few things. If you look at the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as we studied today, that all the parameters are given which you are already experiencing during your healing work over time. Everything is somewhat given there. It rings a bell. So now, if you only focus on it a little more carefully, be more aware of the mechanism of what is happening and where you need to go, then that's the upgrade. Instantly you know what to do. So which is why study of the Bhagavad Gita is important for all healers. In the beginning stages, person is saying, I have this financial difficulty, I have this health problem, I have this relationship problem, I need money, I need this, I need that. And sometimes people are curious, what is this all about? What is Reiki about? Or what is spiritual energy? And then there are people who already know or have some inkling as to what it's all about. So different types of people come with different motivations. And then gradually you come to the point of knowledge. So the Jigyasu and the Jnani is already in that stage. The Jigyasu is the person who's curiously looking and searching. And he is bound to find knowledge at the end of it, or the information. That's the Jnani. And then there's the Artharthi, the person who's in financial difficulty and in bodily difficulty. That's the basic. So you come for any of these four motivations. So everyone's search is triggered by this only. Why am I suffering? Why this? Why this? Why can't I just end it all? So the way to end it is given. Is only by devotional service you can end it. So you connect to the healing energies and understand that these are coming from the feminine aspect of the divine, Lakshmi ji, and she is inspiring you in the heart. The origin of Lakshmi ji is Radharani. The origin of Radharani is Krishna. So it goes all the way, and that's where the buck stops. The buck stops there. There's nothing higher than that. So these are stages, and depending on your understanding, you will connect accordingly. So that's why it's recommended people who can't do this, let them follow the regulative principles, let them follow the knowledge-based path, let them follow the Vedic path, and then eventually they come to this understanding, then they must stop the speculative Gyan and Karma Yoga also. So as healers, you are mostly doing Karma Yoga in an empowered way. Because you are asking to change your karma and heal your karma. So you are acting, but you are not acting as karma yogis in the sense you are not renouncing the results. So in the beginning stages, you'll say, I want the results, otherwise why am I doing it? I'll go somewhere else where the results I can see. So okay, you get some change of results, you change your destiny, you change the way that things are working for you. And this destiny change is happening, you are experiencing the change and the benefits in your life. Then you come to the point, now I'm sending all this healing, and in this aspect, why it is not working. So that's when you need the knowledge. So it is good to connect with this knowledge right from the beginning of your being a healer. But as I said, some people may not be interested in this, or they may be not ready to receive this knowledge. So at the neophyte stage, we don't tell them anything about what is the source, what is the origin. Let them come to it, let them experience the benefit and change, let them develop these understandings internally, which will happen in any case. The only problem is that if you are not well connected and you don't stay within the community of healers, then you can drop out. But I'm finding people come back after 10 years, after 15 years. After bouncing around for 10, 15 years, eventually they want to come back and say, okay, we met you. I have not come for 13 years, 15 years, 20 years, and now I want to reconnect. Why? Because they have found, they've tried other things, and it's not helped them very much. So they want to come for this, which is good.
I'm also thinking that, initially when you're a healer, you're very excited about affirmations when you're doing the healing and getting the results, but eventually I think it's just the experience of doing the healing itself is so enriching.
Exactly. And so then the results become secondary.
Results become
Absolutely. So that is what we learned today also in chapter 12, that you become somewhat detached and neutral. So you don't work for the results as much as for working for the connection. That's the point. So your connection to the divine, to Reiki, to Krishna eventually, and the best way you can connect is by understanding and seeing his form and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So if you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, then you are actually connecting with Krishna himself, because that is his sound form. And that will bring in your mind and your heart the form of Krishna, even if you've never seen him before. We have cases of people who are doing their healing and they start seeing Krishna. They say, what is this? And they've never seen or have no knowledge of this. In Western countries, for example, some people don't have. Typically, we found this in Israel. And they said, I keep seeing this blue boy. Who is he? And this blue boy is Krishna. He's the source of Reiki. That's who we are connecting with. So it is very mystically strange.
How can you translate that into behavior with others? For example, one is that you're sending healing and you can be detached but also not be indifferent and still be like genuinely nice to me. So this feeling of accepting.
There is no way to practice genuineness. You are. Either you are genuine, and what does genuine mean? I mean, you could be being your genuine self, which is all the negative package put together with the positive, or you could be connecting with the higher positivities and not be connecting to the negativities. So that is a different state. So when you say genuine, what does that mean? Krishna is saying he is that person who is not putting anyone else into difficulty or trouble, and who is kindly towards all living entities and compassionate to them. He is very dear to me. So he has given you all the parameters there. All there. Kindliness is a factor that comes from healers. They are willing to help people. They are willing to go out of their way, but then there are a lot of very nice people who are not necessarily healers who also do this. So what is the difference? So Krishna says, the person who is linked to me in my service. Yuktatva is to be linked in yoga with Krishna. So that means at least your minimum empowerment is the Reiki and the KQ force, and that is the linking aspect. And once you are connected like that, then you have a person to look to. And that is the Supreme Person, Krishna. Is not some impersonal energy. If I say think of Reiki, what can you think about Reiki? It's an energy form. Difficult to conceive. The description of Reiki is universal life force, which is Brahma. So now it's difficult to conceive of Brahma unless you think of Lord Brahma. But Lord Brahma is not the source of the spiritual Brahma energies. Brahma means spiritual. So Lord Brahma is the embodiment of the spiritual in the material world as a secondary creator. But we are talking about the energy. Krishna says in the 12th chapter, this was in the 10th chapter, that he is in the middle of it, and right at the end of it he says, in the middle of the 10th chapter he says, I am the life force in all creatures and all living entities. I am the life force, Reiki. And then at the end he says, I am the life force of all creation, of everything that is created. I am the beginning, the middle and the end of them all. So we need to understand it in that way. So that's how you connect to the personal form of Krishna.
You've been listening to a discussion with Nala Narula on www.gettingpositivekarmanow.com.